first responsibility is to protect the best interests of this country, right? Then let's say it. In a national emergency, a country must plan for the future and discriminate between those who are vital to continued stability and those who are not. And now that we've established that our kids are exempt, the whole principle of random selection is dead in the water
Only
anyway.
so far as...
Let me finish. Now look. On the one hand, you've got the good schools, and I don't just mean those producing graduates. I mean the pupils who will go on to staff our hospitals, our offices, our factories, the workforce of the future. We need them. Accepted, yes? So, set against that, you've got the failing schools, full of the less able, the less socially useful, those destined to spend a lifetime on benefits, occupying places on the dole queue and, frankly, the prisons. Now look, should we treat them equally? God knows we've tried and we've failed, and now the time has come to choose. And if we can't identify the lowest achieving 10% of this country's children, then what are the school league tables for?
Anyone want to speak against that? Then there we have it. John, you have your criteria. We've selected the 10%.
Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always, I am joined with...
Yes, hello, it's Scott in episode 4 of Torchwood, Children of Earth. We're near the end, my dude. It's been a good ride.
We are near the end of Children of Earth, and it has been fun. I've been enjoying this story, this series, this Torchwood, this sidestep. It's been interesting to be away from actual Doctor Who for so long.
Yeah.
This, especially with this story in particular, and it's maybe the biggest gripe I've got, considering like there's not many gripes I have, which is this being connected in the Doctor Who universe, I think is detrimental to the story itself, because the story is so good, and the entire time I'm just like, where's the Doctor go? Mm-hmm. What the Doctor doing? Why the Doctor no help?
You can kind of... That's a problem I've had with this series as well, but you can kind of let it off because it is an event that happened in the span of 5 days, whereas Series 4, Miracle Day, is an event that spans half a year, I think, across the 10 episodes, half a year. And the Doctor just never comes in and is like, hey, I'm going to stop everyone from being immortal because that sucks. So I'm more okay with this being disconnected from Doctor Who than I am with Miracle Day, because Miracle Day kind of takes it to the extreme.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation to be in when you're a Doctor Who spin-off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is how do we make a threat that is credible and not have the Doctor come in to save the day? You know, how do we deal with an existential alien threat without the Magic Man in his box? I'm going to sneeze immediately. Hang on. Ooh, exciting. Is it
I'm on the edge of my seat.
I can feel it. I don't know if it's going to come anytime soon.
Nice.
But we are looking at episode... Oh my god, this is really annoying. It's like tickling and it's not coming. We are at episode 4 of 5 with Children of Earth. To recap where we're at, kids are being weird. There's these weird aliens that are vomiting everywhere. Captain Jack sacrificed some kids last time in the 60s. One of those kids survived, and he's a bit scarred from that. and
Just a
everyone's
little
having
bit. Just a little bit.
He keeps it subtle. And everyone is. There's currently some secret meetings happening with the aliens and the world governments, and it's some pretty compelling stuff. That continues on in this episode. If we're ready to jump straight into
of course.
it, yeah.
One thing I will say about this episode is, I think I mentioned it a few weeks ago, but from this episode on, episode 4 and 5 was supposed to have Noel Clarke as Mickey Smith, but he dropped out at the very last minute, and instead of writing a new character to replace him, we rewrote the final 2 episodes so that we didn't need Mickey Smith in the first place, and I guess it worked out well because I can't figure out how Mickey Smith would work in this plot. I just can't figure it out.
It doesn't feel like it needs him.
No.
Like I can't think of what he would add to the dynamic of what's happening. Like, it feels like all of our characters are in place and everything is moving forwards, and adding in Mickey Smith in episode 5 to save the day. It's they've done a good job, definitely, because I cannot imagine. I wouldn't have guessed in a million years that, by the way, Mickey shows up, you know. But anyway, let's jump into episode 4 of Children of Earth.
It's all my fault. No, it's not. Don't speak, save your breath. I love you. Don't. Yato. Yato, stay with me. Yato, stay with me, please. Stay with me, please. Hey. It was good, yeah. Yeah. Don't forget me. Never could. 1,000 years' time, you will remember me. Yes, I will. I promise. I will. Yato. Don't go. Don't leave me, please. Please don't.
You will die, and tomorrow your people will deliver the children.
Episode 4 opens with the 1965 Scotland tag as we see Captain Jack driving in his Land Rover towards some, I assume they're unit soldiers or just regular army people?
Yeah, I think we're just
Military?
regular army people. We know some of these people are kind of somebody called Colonel Sanders, of course. The person he spends most time with is Ellen Hunt. So these are, I think these are just normal soldier people.
The mother of Ethan Hunt?
I guess.
Yes. And they're like, hey, the aliens want some kids, by the way, and because there's this virus coming. They're told us there's this this pandemic on the way. This deadly virus that's going to kill a lot of people. It's going to be worse than the Spanish flu. And when I was hearing this stuff, I was like, that doesn't sound like something that could happen in real life. Virus.
As I said, this series is impossible to watch after COVID without thinking of COVID every single episode.
Yeah,
it's kind of insane.
At least these last 2 episodes. I haven't seen the next episode, but this episode in particular, there's a scene in particular we'll get to later on where I was like, God damn, this is conspiracy COVID coded massively. But they say that they want Captain Jack to deliver the children to the aliens because he's the only one with no morals. Because he's immortal and just does not give two flying fucks about if a dozen kids die or if they survive. And honestly, I think I'm jumping the gun again a bit. I think they handled the morals in this episode so well. Like, I can understand and empathize from every single position that every character is in, you know, because everybody's kind of stuck in this awful, impossible decision where they have to make the worst choice possible. And it's like, I completely understand why you're getting to that conclusion. I understand your motivation. It's brilliant.
Yeah, but this just goes into the fact that, you know, Jack is a utilitarian. You know, he's a guy who'd think, oh, if I sacrifice these 12 kids to save 25 million people, I'm going to fucking do that, because that's a lot of fucking people, you know?
Yeah.
And you can understand his morals here.
I reckon I would probably do the same, given no alternative. If it was like everyone die or 12 kids, I'm like, well, I guess 12 kids. You know, it's the trolley problem, isn't it? Do you kill one person, or do you kill a whole bunch of people by doing nothing? Sometimes you just got to kill that one person.
If I was Captain Jack, though, it would fuck me up quite a lot more than it appears to fuck Captain Jack up, because he hasn't mentioned this. I know he has.
You get a lot of time.
I guess 44 years have passed, but still,
you block that shit out. Plus, it wasn't even like a violent death. You know, like they just walked into a light and vanished. So you could just be like, well, I guess they're okay. I'm just gonna say in my head they're okay.
Yeah, make up your own headcanon about the fact you just gave some kids up to some aliens.
Yeah, just don't worry about stuff like that. You know, there's so many things to go about in the day. But we also see in this the little boy who becomes an old man, whose name, what's his character name? Clem, yes. Clem is there with Captain Jack, and he's like, hey, is it safe if I go there? Jack's like, absolutely. It's absolutely safe. You're not going to die, probably. And he goes to walk off, but... Does he run away, or does he just not get picked up? I don't
think he gets picked up, and he just decides to run away as well. But before he goes in, there's a bit of a moment of hesitation where he turns to Jack, and he's like, it's safe there, isn't it? And then Captain Jack is like, yep. Of course, over the last 4 episodes, Clem has been constantly ticking, isn't it, over and over again. Of course, it connects to this. It's safe there, isn't it? And that's his. This is like the most traumatic moment of his life. Of course, he's gonna keep ticking it. It makes it more tragic that we now know why he keeps repeating it. It's, whew.
Yeah, it's I like the Clem character for the most part. I find him a little bit stereotypical of, like, if you have a insane character or a character that's dealing with mental issues or trauma or something like that. You know, I don't know if it's a mix of the performance or just the writing, but there's some bits of it that come off cliche to me. But I do enjoy Clem. He's just probably my least favorite character. I think out of all of them. Someone that I actually really enjoyed in this episode that we'll get into again later on as we delve deeper is Lady on her first day of work. What's her name? Oh,
yeah. Lois.
She is
Lois Griffin.
Lois. What a moment she has in this episode. God damn. Oh, yeah. Absolute shine.
That's why I fucking say, like, every actor in this series gets a great moment to shine. It's so good across the board. Every character is fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah, but this wouldn't be an episode of Torchwood if it didn't open with Captain Jack dying. So we flash back to modern times where Clem is, realizing that this is the man that gave him away to the aliens. This is the guy that did it, and he grabs a gun and he just shoots Captain Jack immediately. He doesn't hesitate. He isn't like, oh my god. He's like, holy fuck, this guy's evil. Bang. And Captain Jack goes down. Record amount of deaths for Jack in this series? This is an insane amount of times he's died.
So, yeah. I mean, in episode 2 alone, he probably died 20 odd times.
Yeah, it's brutal. But Gwen manages to talk Clem down to get the gun off, which utilizing her training as a police officer.
She's a cop.
You know? Yeah. It's very good. I also liked as well, but she brings him in for an embrace, but she doesn't let go because she knows Jack's about to wake up and Clem's going to freak out again. And when Jack wakes up, she's like, no, this is what happens. Okay, you just gotta be. It's handled really well. I also like. It's a weird, drama thing that happens in shows when people can transform or come back. How long does it take for Captain Jack to wake up? It's really inconsistent.
Depends.
It's however long the script. Have you ever seen Train to Busan?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Fun movie. Annoyed the fuck out of me that some people turned into zombies like that. Some people took ages. Some people was a medium amount of time.
It's the same problem with The Walking Dead. If it's a main character and they need to have a dramatic moment or two with another character to say goodbye, they're gonna turn into a zombie in like 2 hours. But if it's a background character who gets bitten, they're a zombie within 2 seconds.
Like straight away, yeah. I remember it really kind of because I had seen nothing but good things about that movie, and then when I went to watch it, I was like, "This is annoying. This is really annoying. Oh my god!"
You just have to turn your head off when that kind of stuff happens. It is what it is.
Yeah, that is true. At the end of the day. This leads to a really good scene in the episode, though, with Clem freaking out when he's like, it's just too much. It's too much. Yep. Everything going on right now is too much, which is a really reasonable reaction, I think, to aliens kidnapping kids, possessing kids. Captain Jack's immortal. He's also tried to give you a wit. Like, that's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. And it's better if you just didn't. Just hide behind a table or whatever the fuck it is that he's doing, you know? You take over because my internet is fucked. I don't know where I am anymore.
My ear is fucked. One of my ears stopped listening to you, but I don't know what's going on.
I don't have enough bandwidth to play Torchwood right now. That's what it says.
This is good stuff.
I've never seen that message before.
But yeah, if you don't know, Matthew's in the middle of fuck all. He's in the middle of nowhere.
I live in the countryside in 1965 Scotland, and it's currently raining outside, so it's murdered my internet. Look at it. I've never seen that message before.
But here's where Yanto is like, hey, I can't believe you've just never told me about this before, Jack. What the fuck? And Jack is like, oh, I didn't think they'd come back. And Yanto's like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact you fucking gave these children up to aliens.
Yeah, wait, like, I understand. Again, I see it from everybody's perspective. Like, everyone is so well-rounded and written out, where I can understand why Yanto's like, why the fuck did you not tell me about this? This is such a huge thing. But to Jack, it's not a huge thing.
Yeah, it's something like, that happened Jack 44 years ago. And
yeah. And it's something that he was specifically chosen for because he didn't give a shit. You know, like, Captain Jack 44 years ago is a different man than Captain Jack now because he's, you know, grown and changed and developed as a person and as a character. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, can you remember what you were like 44 years ago? No.
Yes,
you were completely different. You were
I can.
You were so non-existent.
But yeah, also Jack is like fucking 200, 250 years old or whatever. Yeah. I don't know how old he actually is, but he's lived at least 2 or 3 lifetimes. He's done a fucking lot as a Torchwood member, man. You know?
He has. It's the joys. I find immortality to be such an interesting concept for a character. Like, it adds so much shades of gray to somebody because they say it later on in the scene with Captain Jack's daughter and the security lady when, you know, it's like a man with like who can't die has no fear, you know, like there's no morals, there's no consequences to any action you take. So you can kill 12 kids and just keep going because the world doesn't stop with you. You know, like there you will, even if you were to get thrown in jail for 50 years, that's a fucking blink. You know, that's nothing.
Yeah, this series especially does a fucking fantastic job of exploring nearly every avenue you could explore with Jack's immortality. Whether it's his daughter looks older than him now, and now he's losing his probably 17th loved one in his lifetime. Like how many people has he lost in his life? That's insane.
Yeah, but you just gotta keep on trucking. You know.
Yeah.
Start another family. Watch them get old, die again, repeat.
Is your internet back?
Yeah, I'm flicking through thumbnails again. So they find out that Clem never got, or they assume. I don't know if this is the official canon reason. I don't know if there's going to be another twist. But they conclude that Clem was never taken by the aliens because he was too busy jacking it as a preteen. You know, he developed a little bit earlier, and the aliens didn't want nothing to do with that. They were like, "No thanks. You got hair on your balls? No, not for us."
Yeah, he's on the cusp of puberty, is what the show explains it, which is, I think, a way more delicate way of explaining it than you just did.
Mine's more accurate.
But yeah, I believe this is the official reason for why Clem wasn't picked. Yeah,
they want prepubescent children.
Yeah,
absolute weirdos. I mean, wanting children of any kind is kind of weird, but the aliens are extra alien. We then go to Peter Capaldi and his interaction with the big aliens in the big scary base, and this is continues to be my favorite stuff in the story. I want it to be the entire episode. I want it to be all 5 episodes of just these scenes because they're very, very good. And this scene reveals quite a lot of information to us at quite a speed, where Peter Capaldi comes storming in. We see him preparing himself behind a chair. He's gathering himself up. He's about to talk to these very scary aliens. He doesn't know how this is going to go. And he's like, okay, we got to get a point of clarification before we give you any kids, aliens. We want to know what you're going to do with them. What you're going to do with the kids. And the aliens like, no bother. That's not a big, just come in. Just come see us. We'll show you. No big deal. No big deal at all. So they suit a guy up. They give him a camera, and the whole time the Prime Minister is watching through a TV camera in the cabinet room. That's the name of where the Prime Minister does meetings. Guy goes in to see the aliens. They're really gross and slimy and whatever. There's lots of mist everywhere, and they did this really weird editing effect, which I did not like. Which is
the lines
when it cuts
across the screen.
The TV lines on the screen where it's like, awesome, I can't see what you're trying to show me.
I think I would prefer it to be static rather than this, because I've never seen a camera have those lines before. That makes it worse to see. If static, fair enough.
You get those lines if you have a camera pointing at a screen that's playing a video. It's not like we're watching the live footage from the camera. It's like we're watching someone record the live footage from that camera with a different camera.
But I agree. I do agree with the choice to make it hard to see. I think it makes it more atmospheric and creepier. And before, we keep cutting to the point of view shot of the cameraman just holding the camera. We see the camera, what the camera sees, and we also
take a shot every time the word camera's being said.
But when we have the camera focused towards the cameraman, we see glimpses of stuff before he sees glimpses of stuff. That makes sense. Like we see the back of a head, and we're like, what the fuck is that? And the cameraman slowly turns around, and he reveals it's a fucking child. Terrifying.
Yeah, it's very similar to the balls that the Master brings in when he takes over as Prime Minister. It's very similar, even like makeup on the. I guess this is kind of like a doll, the prosthetic thing, because it doesn't look very human. But with the like mask over its mouth and the like bald hair, and like it's like basically the exact same, except this time it's attached to a big alien.
Horrifying.
But it was cool. It was interesting. I haven't seen the next episode yet, so I don't actually know what they're using the kids for, other than to hang out with, I guess. They're just like, look, we got some buddies with us, you know? But, you know, this is one of the kids from the 60s. They're still a kid. They have no hair. They're just basically covered in slime and this weird mask thing, and the aliens say that they feel no pain, they feel no nothing, and it's a good life. And this is also a big reveal because they go back on their deal they made with Capaldi earlier, where they even start mocking him by replaying what he said to them, where it's like, you know, keep this between us, keep it secret, this doesn't need to be brought up, blah, blah, blah. And the prime minister gets in shit from the U.S. embassy dude, or the U.S. military guy, and he's like, you know, well, I was a child in the 1960s. And the guy's like, yeah, but you're prime minister right now, and you could have told us about this when you found out. Like, you know, it wasn't your fault until you did nothing about it. When you,
it's a bit unrealistic for a prime minister to act like this, isn't it? You know, just slimy, trying to get out of every situation like this. Never happens in real life.
Well, in my lifetime, I've only known prime ministers to be really good at their job and really competent. So, you know, I'm glad this is just fiction, because if it was real life, it would be a bit too much, to quote Clem.
To go back just a little bit, when we're focused on the child, when the child is revealed, they start playing the music they play every time they go back to 1965, except the music is slightly tweaked, so the notes are all off by like 1 decibel or whatever you want to call it. You know, it makes it more creepy.
Billy Rob.
Yeah, it's creepy and sinister. It's really well handled.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious as to how this wraps up in one other episode, going into it. So I'm excited to see what happens, because the past 3 episodes, it was like episode 2 particularly, not much going on, plot wise. Shit ton of stuff happens in this episode. Yeah. So much. It really, really speeds up. So I'm expecting the next episode to just fly.
Yeah, but I will say it's all paced very well. When I watched this a few weeks ago, I watched them all within a space of 24 hours, and I did not feel it rushed at any point. I felt like every single episode was paced perfectly.
I was very tempted to watch episode 5
I don't blame you.
Immediately after finishing episode 4, but I am yet to see episode 5, because I ended up being like, actually, I'm too tired, I want to go to bed. I'll fall asleep, or I won't pay attention or something if I put the episode on right now. But yeah, it is good TV, not gonna lie, pretty good TV. If you just need some 5 hours of TV, good stuff.
Oh god, imagine this stretched out for 10 hours like Miracle Day is, and just, I would say like 30% of Miracle Day is comparable to Children of Earth. Another 30% is very good. 40% of that season is just a giant slog. It's torture.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's really the big issue with TV most of the time, isn't it? is having to stretch things out longer than they need to be just to hit the episode count. Which is why I'm glad we live in an era mostly now where things can just be as long as they need to be, or as short as they need to be. Most of the time. Yeah, most of the time. You know, there's some instances where things feel rushed. Like Doctor Who, Series 1.
Yes. As in Series 1, you mean with, of
Series
course,
whatever.
Hartnell season.
That. Oh my god. The pacing in that.
Episodes.
It's way too much. Yeah, no, it's... And there was the Netflix Marvel shows. Those also like I think they were good to begin with, and then by the later seasons, it felt really stretched out. And I don't know.
Oh, God,
I don't know. Maybe they should just stop making TV and everything should be a movie. Movies are better.
Oh, especially movies that are just 90 minutes long. That was the best part about Trap. It was like 100 minutes, perfect length.
It was about. I think it was,
even that went on for too long. I think.
Trapped. I kept thinking it was going to end, and then it didn't. I was like, okay, this is a good bit for it to end. Okay, this is a good bit. Okay, it's ending now. We're still going. Okay, the pop star's at their house now. All right. Okay. Yeah, sorry if you're super into watching M. Night Shyamalan's Trapped. It's all right. You should watch it.
We talked about this last week, so it's kind of a continued conversation here. What did you think about M. Night's daughter's acting? I thought it was decent. I hear people complaining about her. Yeah, it's serviceable.
It's fine.
Every other actor is given stilted dialogue and working their best.
I think it suffers that most of her dialogue is just with the main guy.
Yeah.
And that main dude's fucking killing it. His performance was
Josh
so
Hutcherson,
goddamn good. Yeah,
it was crazy. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna. I'll
but yeah, of course, he's fucking great in The Faculty as well from like 1998. Great movie.
That's a great movie. Oh yeah, great movie.
I keep wanting to rewatch that now.
Josh Hartnett.
Oh, it's close.
Josh Hartnett.
Who's Josh Hutcherson?
I don't know if that's a real man. Sorry, I've got my microphone and shit's in front of my keyboard, so hang on.
Oh, Josh Hutcherson is from The Hunger Games, Five Nights at Freddy's, The Beekeeper, Bridge to Terabithia.
He's the Five Nights guy. Yeah, the world's sleepiest man.
Never seen that movie.
So it's really good. You should really watch. I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna sell it to you right now. Okay, so
I know Matthew Lillard is in it.
Matthew Lillard is in it, and he's very hammy. It's great. But Josh Hutcherson plays a guy whose entire goal in the movie is to fall asleep at work, and that's what he wants to do.
That's the American dream.
He spends 90% of the film is a dream sequence of Josh Hutcherson being asleep, and then about halfway through the movie, they forget that it's a horror film, and straight up they build a fort with Freddy Fazbear.
Nice, okay.
It becomes the most insane. I was in the cinema being like, what the fuck am I watching? What is going on right now? Cannot wait for the second one. Excellent time.
Interesting. I'll probably check it out.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, Trap was really good. Trap was I thoroughly enjoyed Trap. I thought I even liked the weird dialogue. I'm a fan of weird M. Night dialogue where I'm like, that's not how people talk.
I'm not as big as a fan of Trapped as you are, but I did wind up enjoying it more. The more I thought about it, the more I came around to it. So that's a good sign.
I'm definitely going to watch it again. I'm looking forward to watching it a second time. Especially because I missed the first 15 to 20 minutes. So
you should have been drinking coffee, my dude.
Maybe I needed it. I hadn't had any breakfast that day. I was at a party the night before, and then I woke up. I went to sleep at 5. I woke up on the couch at 9. And the cinema was bang on 12, so I had a few hours. Everybody was still asleep, where I was like, okay, I'm going to eat some leftover pizza. I'm going to hydrate a little bit. Okay, right. And then I'm going to say my goodbyes. I'm going to go straight as soon as I get into the center. Boom, walk in, sit down in the cinema. Movie starts. Perfect. Absolutely, legitimately perfect timing. Get out of the cinema. I'm like, holy shit, that was a lot. I've only had some old pizza. I need to get some breakfast. I need to get some caffeine. I need to actually wake up my body and get something healthy in me, So I go to a cafe. I get some coffee. I'm like, I still got hours to kill before I can even go home because I'm getting a lift home. I'm like, fuck it, I'll go to the cinema again. And I go to the cinema again, and I have to go across town because I've gone from where I was in Bonaccord in Aberdeen, right? And the Cineworld is in Union Square.
Yeah.
So I had to fucking hook it across town to make the movie. I was impressed. I was only missed the opening part.
I like how you said, "Oh, I don't want to dox anything," and then you specifically named 2 shopping centers.
And then I was like, "Fuck it, I don't live in Aberdeen, so it's like I was just visiting."
But I do. Come find me. It's a challenge.
Anyway, it was a fun party.
Good for you. I love leftover pizza. Do you reheat it or do you eat it cold?
No,
I eat it cold.
I eat it
eating
cold. Yeah,
cold pizza is fantastic.
It's got more flavor. It's got more flavor.
Yeah.
Cold. Reheating it is a waste. Yeah, no, it's cold. I specifically left slices for myself. So
that's what I do every single time.
This is gonna be great in the morning.
Oh, leftover pizza is just fantastic.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the episode. We only have really got this scene here with Captain Jack and Yanto, where Captain Jack is like, "Hey, Yanto, I'm really upset at everything, by the way, and I have a daughter who's kidnapped, and I have so much shit going on you wouldn't even know because I'm a really bad partner and I don't communicate things. And I'm going to take that out on you. Bye."
And I'm glad they don't focus on this drama for too much. It's like maybe 3 scenes at the most. Any other show would have just dragged this out, make it a multiple episode arc where Yanto's mad the entire time, but Captain Jack doesn't communicate. I think Yanto understands why Captain Jack doesn't communicate. It's just the heat of the moment, anger building up. Because to find out your boyfriend fucking gave up 12 children to aliens is a quite shocking revelation, you know.
What I would find more shocking is if he's given up 12 kids and didn't think it was a big enough deal to mention.
Yeah.
What other stuff has he done?
Yes.
That he didn't think was a big deal to mention, you know? Like, it suddenly is like, oh, hang on, I don't actually know your morals because you don't have any. And you work for the government doing secret alien things. You know, it sets off a few red flags. Just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple. But at least he doesn't have to worry about it for too much longer, you know? Maybe just a couple more hours.
Yeah. So, the episode continues on with Captain Jack phoning up Peter Capaldi, and he's like, "Yo, I know you want more kids." And Capaldi's like, "You're right, but what the fuck are we gonna do about that?" And, you know, Captain Jack's like, "You know, last time it was 12 kids. I could let that slide. Who gives a shit about 12 kids? But more than 12 kids? Millions of kids? That's too far." Yeah. And that, I mean, it begs the question, though, is what's the tipping point? You know, 12 kids is okay. Like, say, like 100,000 or like 1 million kids is too much. At what point does it stop being okay and becomes too much? Could you get 13 kids? That's still fun. Well,
I mean, in this episode, in this episode, they propose 1 in every 1 million kids.
Yeah,
I think is the
it's like 6,000 or something from the UK. Yeah,
or I think it's 6,000 across 6,700 across the whole world, something like that. I can't remember, but we'll get there.
62 from the UK. That was it.
Which does sound more reasonable, but we'll get there, as we said. Frobisher, they make a very good point of pointing out he is sleep deprived as fuck. Like, Bridget is like, "Hey, why don't you lie on the couch for an hour?" And Lois walks back in. "Hey, the Prime Minister wants to see you."
Yeah,
you can't catch a break with poor man.
I think it's one of those realities of working in government that this episode shows really well. Of when there's a crisis, you just can't. You just are no rest. You are go go go, and it just makes me think of our current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who, upon coming into office as Prime Minister, has had to deal with so much shit immediately of both the economy, solving strikes, riots, like it's just crisis after crisis after crisis, and constantly putting out fires. And like he's cancelled his summer holiday he was supposed to go on with his family. This is coming off a really intense, long election campaign to get him into office. Like, I cannot imagine the fumes that dude must be running on right now. Absolute insanity.
Yeah, it does sound like a tough job.
Why would anyone want that job? Fuck that.
Exactly.
Like,
I really don't understand why anyone would want that job. It just sounds stressful, and when you're really shit at it as well, you're just facing constant pressure from the press and everybody else every single day. Why have you done this?
To be fair, I reckon like the bar is so low. Like Liz Truss set the bar so fucking low of like pure incompetency that like anybody could do a better job as prime minister than she might. Like it's a record. I don't think they were ever gonna see that again. Like, it's absolutely staggering. Someone was prime minister for like a month.
Yeah. Like, so how many days did she have? Like 49 days or something. On the 48th day, on the 48th day of Keir's day. Somebody on Twitter was like, Keir could do the funniest thing right now.
Which is, wild. Crazy he's been prime minister for that long already. Like, longer than Liz Truss, he's been prime minister. Insane.
Time goes by so quickly these days. It's insane.
It really does. It really does, especially because the election felt like it was forever. Like, it was like, okay, we're in this, and this is going on, this is going on. It's over. Okay, they won. Okay, and we're just back into normalcy again.
Yeah.
I know, it's...
Oh, if we just need to wait until November, and then we...
Wow.
It's good.
You wait till November, then you have to wait till January. Because fucking America's so slow. Then the next cycle starts... 4-year cycle.
Pretty much immediately, Oh, well... The politics are just all backwards in America, I think. It's insane.
I mean, it's a TV show. It's teams, it's sports in America. It's entertainment, political entertainment.
Oh, yes, because the DNC is like a 5-day event, and there's singers,
they
hour-long speeches. It's insane.
They full on had Hulk Hogan at the RNC. Like it is a show.
Could you imagine?
I'm glad politics is boring over here. It's my favorite thing. I love.
A 6 weeks, perfect. Honestly,
honestly, maybe a little bit too long.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit. Maybe it's like a week too long. But that does lead us into the crux of this chunk of the episode, and probably my favorite part of this episode.
Yes, even before we entered this mini-series, I had a feeling this scene would be her favorite part of the entire series. You are Mr. Politics, man.
I do enjoy politics, and I do enjoy when characters sit around and just chat. Yep. And this is both of those things, and it's got the lovely moral quandary of, like, how do we kill kids ethically? What's the ethic boundary here of murdering children? And I think it's handled really, really well, where the Prime Minister, as we've seen throughout this series, does not want to make decisions. He does not want to be direct, to be like, this is my idea, this is what we're going for. And it's not until this scene where he's like, okay, I will sign off on whatever, like, I will have to make the executive decision, but I'm not pitching an idea. You guys pitch to me, and we'll listen to that. And it's the lady sitting next to him who looks shockingly like the current, the lady what's the name of the job that's in charge of all the money in government.
You're asking me. You know more about politics than I do, I'm afraid.
Lady
Mr. Moneyman.
Money Government UK. The Chancellor. The lady.
Well, what's her name? Who are we talking about?
Rachel Reeves. She's the current Chancellor. She's got the exact same haircut as this lady. in this episode of Torchwood.
I see. In this scene, basically, the Prime Minister tries to push it on to Frobisher to make a decision, and Frobisher is like, hey, all I can fucking do is just get the buses and get the children on the buses. That's all I can do. Over to you, Prime Minister. And then the Prime Minister is like, anybody else got any ideas?
Yeah, and Rachel Reeves here says, yes, I have got an idea. I'm just going to be the one that says what we're all thinking. Our kids are exempt, right?
I am so sorry. I think we're talking about the wrong scene here. This is there's two meeting scenes in this room. The first meeting scene is where they're like, hey, we should get all the asylum seekers, get the kids. Yeah, get the kids from a failed asylum seeker room. Room?
It's
room.
All the asylum seekers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially one big scene because the stuff that we get in the middle of it is people talking on the phone, being very sad with each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, if we get all the asylum seekers, then we can get our number of 62 because they're coming up with the idea of pitching the 10% or 1 in every million people. So they want to get the number down from 10% to 62 kids, which I can as far as an offer goes, I understand why you would be like, this is the morally correct decision to make.
Yes. But
if I was to make you a deal to be like,
yes.
Okay, Scott, you must get me this, I'm gonna, whatever you want, it's gonna cost you £1.2 million, and you're like, okay, Matthew, counter offer, 62 quid.
Yes.
How about I pay you 62
yes.
quid? And I'd be like,
the
fuck
alien,
off.
the alien wants 325,000 kids.
325,000.
Yes, I'm sorry. I can't read numbers when they're just written out like that. I'm dumb. But 300,000 kids, and their offer is 62. That's a big fucking difference. I don't understand how they could ever think that was going to work. Like, maybe 1,000 kids? 1,000 kids is more plausible, but 62.
Yeah. You would never ever believe that they're going to be on board with that, you know.
They do briefly explain why they don't just try to shoot down the spaceship or whatever. They think there must be some sort of base of operation in orbit, but satellites are showing nothing, so they have to haggle instead. Do you think this is plausible? I feel like it. I feel like it's just. I feel like it's an afterthought more than anything.
I believed it purely because they were like, if there is a spaceship, it's beyond our technology. Yeah. Which I'm like, yeah, okay, I believe that because you've got these aliens can possess kids and they came in a giant fire tornado, like fucking, there's no way you could win. There's whatever they've got, whatever you've got, they've got something else. Which, I mean, does lead the question to why are they asking for the kids and not just taking them? Why are they, if they can kill everybody, what's that going to get their goals? If there's a lot of like hums and what ifs. Like, are these guys as strong as they say they are? Are they just intimidating? For all we know, these are just like intergalactic child smugglers. They've got no actual power. Who knows?
What I love about the aliens in this series is they're just window dressing. What the series is about is how people deal with crises, as I've said before. Because if you just watch a scene out of context, you don't even know there's fucking aliens. You could watch you could cut this episode into like maybe a 40-minute chunk, and you could remove all references of aliens and all that, and the plot would still kind of work. You know what I mean? You can take a lot of scenes in isolation.
It's the same thing with it being connected to Doctor Who. Yeah. It's such a solid story and such a solid script with such compelling characters that you don't need all these other elements going through it. Like, I like the aliens in it. I like the sci-fi twist to it. But that's just my own personal taste. You could switch it out for any sort of other thing that they're, like if this was just terrorists had... bombs everywhere, and they were like, hey, we have nuclear codes, give us X, otherwise this is gonna happen. Then you have the same sort of scene. But it's compelling TV. It's very well written. And who wrote this? Russell T.
This episode was written by somebody else, but he was also the main guy behind it all. But I think fingers crossed, because the table read for day 1 of the war between the land and the sea just took place the other day. Fingers crossed it is of a similar level, because
it's gonna be garbage. It's gonna be. I have such low expectations for the war between the land and the sea.
We'll see.
Mostly because it's sea devils. Mostly because it's sea devils. And I just dislike them.
My number one hope for this series, by the way, is that it airs weekly instead of daily. Because, God, if it airs daily, how the fuck are we going to cover that? We'll cross that bridge when we cross. Yeah.
all drops at once on Disney Plus.
Oh, please no. Although with Torchwood, I feel like Torchwood Children of Earth could have dropped all at once if you were trying to do that model back then. It feels like it's a very bingeable series, because as I said, I got through it all. I got through it all within 24 hours. Once it's hooked into your veins, it's like a drug. You can't get enough. It's perfect.
If this was Netflix, it would be a dump all at once, 5 episodes sort of, and it's number 1 for like a week, and everyone's like, "Wow, this was really good," and then nobody talks about it. Yeah.
It gets cancelled because nobody else talks about it after the first 2 weeks. Oh, Netflix.
Yeah.
But in this scene, they start referring to kids as figures and units, and every country is making a contribution. It's talking about human lives in a very in a way that's just numbers.
But like, if you have to make that decision, you want to dehumanize what you're doing, because as soon as you actually think about what you're doing, it's so reprehensible. You just can't do it, and we see this later in this episode as well, when Capaldi is like, everybody here is a willing participant, and like the Prime Minister is like, no, shut the fuck up, no, I'm not willing in doing anything, even though like he's actively making those decisions. It's some interesting morals. But again, if I was in that position, what the fuck am I gonna do? There's a goddamn alien. There's a goddamn alien. Like, I can't be an alien.
I mean, you compare this situation to a real life situation like COVID, where Boris Johnson is quoted as saying, "Let the bodies burn, because I'd rather have people die than put the country through another lockdown," which is which is an evil fucking thing to do. That's in. But again, I just can't stop thinking of COVID when this series is on. It's impossible to separate the two now.
It is, especially when they get in chatting about what they chat about covering up and getting away with it. But it's very COVID themed. But hey, COVID will be a distant memory. You'll look back at COVID with longing thoughts when the Mpox virus spreads.
Already fucking seeing insane things on Twitter about the Mpox.
Of course,
it's famously Twitter. Lawrence Fox's video, which is. I just can't place my finger on why Billy Piper left Lawrence Fox. He seems like a decent
so nice.
Dude.
Yeah. What I really like about that, if you haven't seen the video, it's not worth seeing. So there's a virus spreading around at the minute called monkeypox, which people are very much keeping an eye on because it's spreading to a lot of people and it's getting a lot of people very sick, and it looks horrible. It looks like a terrible thing to have. And Lawrence Fox, the comedic genius that he is, the true Shakespeare of our generation, he's got a wit like no other. He keenly noticed something that nobody had noticed, which is that monkeypox has the word monkey in it, and so he was like, so it makes you into a monkey, does it? And released a video saying that he's got the monkeypox and he's going ooh the entire, and it's chef kiss, a true genius at work.
Just, it's insane watching all of these people on Twitter. Their brain is literally leaking out of their ears at this point.
It's just complete rot by being fed just nonsense from other people who don't go outside. You know, there was this thing, I don't remember who said it, but it was like the internet is this great and terrible place because you can go on the internet and you're one random fucking dude who's a really weirdo in his village in the middle of nowhere, and there's like everybody knows you're a really weird, creepy guy. But you go on the internet, there's 50 other people exactly like you. You're not weird. You're completely normal. There's 50 people like you. You know, there's 100 people. You're all together. There's nothing. And actually, you're all fucking weird. You know, like, but you get so wrapped up in, actually, no, everybody's like me. There's nothing wrong with me. It's everybody else. Internet's a terrible place.
I do wonder what the people living through the events of Children of Earth would do if obviously Twitter was a thing in 2009, but wasn't like
just
Twitter
bake some
today.
muffins.
Yes. Twitter was basically like, oh yeah, I just got some cucumbers from the store. I'm gonna have
Taking a poop.
a cucumber sandwich. Oh,
I remember it's like the really shit jokes about Twitter when it was like coming about, which is like, what do you even post about? Like, oh, I'm pooping right now. Ha 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 ha. You know, because the social media was this new thing where people were like, what the fuck's the point of it? And it's still like it's awful. I want
the biggest mistake of Twitter was making it more than 140 characters, I think. Because imagine trying to spread misinformation in like a 200 tweets.
I think the biggest mistake of Twitter was, one, actually forcing Elon, like as funny as it was, actually forcing Elon to buy it was a big mistake. And secondly, every single day that website is online is a very big mistake. And I'm on it every day. It's probably my most used app. Yeah, it's
like you
it's
got
awful.
away from it for a while, but now you're back.
I got away from it when it was dog shit because it stopped working for like a year. But now it's kind of fixed itself. It's kind of my feed no longer randomly refreshes when I'm trying to scroll it. You know, it most of the time it works fine. And I hate it, but it's also at the same time quite funny at times.
At times, yes.
And it has the thing that Twitter does great that nobody else has managed to capture is real-time news. Yeah. So if an event is happening, you can follow it moment by moment by moment, and that is the real hook. And it's.
Yeah,
no, actually, the real hook is audio streaming or whatever the fuck you.
I mean, news on Twitter. How much of that is real? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, you gotta get it from your like if follow accurate sources. You know, like BBC and whatever the fuck. But holy shit, my camera. I'm sorry, Elon. I take it back. Don't attack my camera.
The fact that the website can't handle an audio stream of two people fucking talking to each other.
No, it was a DDoS attack. That's how they work, right?
Just fucking insane. Where YouTube can upload a quadrillion videos. There's probably like 2 million live streams happening on YouTube right now. It's like, I don't understand how one app can't handle two people just talking.
I mean, we're doing it on Discord right now. You know, like it's with video. We live in the future. It's cool. It's cool. Anyway, back to the episode. The aliens reject the offer given by Capaldi of 62 children, as of course
shocked.
they would. Yeah, I was like, holy shit, no way. It was so reasonable. The aliens respond by getting the kids all around the world to repeat various numbers. The kids in the UK go 3, 2, 5, 0, 0, 0. 3, 2, 5, 0, 0, 0. And kids around in other countries say different numbers, but it all equates to 10% of the child population of that country, which is what the aliens want. So it brings us back to the cabinet meeting where the cabinet is like, oh, well.
I mean, sorry, we do briefly go into Yanto's sister house where Yanto's brother-in-law is doing a Chris Chan cosplay.
Yeah, he is.
He does get a really funny line, after half an hour of like the most devastating shit, and there's still another half of the episode to go where there's more devastating shit, like conversations, like just the most dramatic conversations. He's like, what are you going on about? The lottery numbers? Which is a great line.
Yeah, there was that line was pretty fun. There's a line that that Reese says that I fucking disliked massively, but in terms of like a comedic line that somebody says to try and ease the tension that's happening.
Do you remember the line?
Yeah, I'll just get to it when it actually happens.
Okay.
They continue to search around looking for Harkness and Yanto. We keep cutting back to this dude working on like the tracer for like the phones and stuff. And I thought he was a really interesting character, especially when Yanto phones them up later on to be like, I know you're listening, guy on the wire, by the way, like, forget about your job. This is really important shit. And you see his hesitation before he's like, actually, no, I fucking hate those kids. They're here. I thought
Nick,
it was just...
Yeah. Really great stuff, yeah. Every character, as I said, gets a moment to shine. Even the fucking guy just interpreting the call.
Yeah, just some random dude.
But Nick Briggs from Doctor Who, you've heard of Nick Briggs. He does the Dalek voices. He does the Cyberman. He does the Jadoon. He's an actor of his own right, He has a little scene with the Prime Minister here, and he's like, hey, yo, I know a way to spin this. Overpopulation. By the year 2050, there's going to be like 9 billion people. Maybe it's good that 10% of the children are going to be murdered. Sorry, 10% of units, because they can't... Because, again, we talk about the children in units, which is...
Yeah.
Hard to listen to.
I really enjoyed this entire sequence. The whole, there's going to be 10 billion people by 2050 or whatever. And so killing 10% shouldn't be a big deal. I guess I kind of understand the logic there. I would also argue that, by 2050, like even by like the next year or like 5 years time, like, the population bounce is going to be so big that you wouldn't even really notice from a pure numbers point of view. But of course, that's where the trip up happens, is everyone is trying to be clinical and talk about this like it's money or like it's an inanimate object, but these are human lives which are inherently worth more than just a number. And what I really liked about this scene as we go into the cabinet meeting finally, because I think we've covered all the other cutaway scenes now, minus one scene where Lois is crying and Gwen's like, you got this, you come on, you can do it.
I think that takes place after this scene.
But they so quickly fall into fascism.
Yes.
Like immediately, it's like, okay, so we've got to think about this from an inhuman, clinical, pure numbers point of view. So I guess that means that those that aren't doing well get fucked. All the special needs, the low performing, the learning difficulties. The bottom 10% can just be flushed away, because what do they contribute to society? Which is a really interesting way to look at life.
Yes, it's fucking harrowing shit. It's devastating.
I think it's written really well though, where you can,
Yes.
and, obviously this is also where the characters are like, oh, by the way, our kids are they're fine because these guys are all,
But what about our nieces and nephews? No, that's pushing it.
let's fucking chill the fuck out. Don't get greedy. 'Cause I understand, like, from a human point of view, if you were in that seat, you would try to save your own kids. You would try to save your nieces. Like, you're doing whatever you can to try, and you have to make this impossible fucking decision and also try and keep your own family safe. And it's, you're torn between two places. And where this lady jumps into the fascist train, I understand how she gets there, because logically it's sound. If you remove the human element, the logic works out. But it's as soon as you remember that these are kids that you're talking about, that it's like, oh shit, hang on,
And at the end of a conversation, the Prime Minister is like, "Yep, we'll go with that idea." And you see a moment where she just considers what the fuck she just said.
Yeah,
and she just has a moment of like, "Oh fuck," you know what I mean? It's again, you can understand where she's coming from. You can understand where everyone's coming from. It's well-rounded characters for she's in this episode for 5 minutes and she has a well-rounded character. You know what I mean?
It's really interesting because I think it's so easy to say from a moral point of view, actually it's wrong to kill the kids, so they should just say no and fight the aliens because that's the right thing to do. But the right thing to do and the realistic thing are quite often night and day. They're quite often very different things, and it's this idea, that if you were in that seat, if you were sitting where she's sitting, that you wouldn't say the same thing. That you're like, I can 100% be like, okay, no, I get how you got there. I would probably get there myself if I was in this fucking nightmare where I honestly I would probably try to resign before I had to do. I'd be like, I'm out. I don't want to do this.
When we're watching this scene, I want you to consider the Sarah Jane Adventures takes place in the same universe. What are all the friends of Luke?
Per Clyde, he's fucked. He's
dumb. He is.
He's just the funny guy. He doesn't.
But that is one of the areas where this series falls, because you consider that Sarah Jane is going through the same thing right now. Like, that's so weird to think about.
Again, this series being connected to Doctor Who feels so strange. But it's cool. I like having to deal with an existential threat so beyond basic humanity and so removed. It doesn't, as far as it's concerned, these are we want the children for whatever reason, but how do, it's the same way as if we were to look at, say, like cattle, I want fucking 10% of the calves that you're giving birth to, please. We don't stop to be like, what does the cow think? Because we're like, fucking, I don't give a shit what the cow thinks. I want the cow. I want the fucking calves, please. I want 10% of these lambs. When you consider yourself a higher being, the issues of lesser things become something you don't even consider.
In Miracle Day, they kind of go through the same kind of political stuff, but without any intrigue, I would say. Obviously the plot is everyone's now immortal. What the fuck do we do? Because obviously the planet's going to become overpopulated eventually, and their solution is, let's just burn people. Let's just burn them to a crisp. And it takes till like, I'm not looking forward to Miracle Day because it takes a while to get things moving in Miracle Day compared to here, where every episode of Children of Earth has a major revelation and you're just hooked the entire time. I don't feel like there's a moment in Children of Earth where there's a moment where they linger on a plot point for too long, because it's always, okay, we'll focus on this for 5 minutes, let's go into the next thing, and you don't feel there's any rush, it just feels perfectly paced. 10 episodes, just, again, too much. It's way too much.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. And also, 2 series of Torchwood where they're dealing with big world consequences in a row. That's not what Torchwood is. I just wish they would have gone with a more episodic kind of route with Series 4. Because...
Well, maybe it was just, Children of Earth was such a hit.
Yeah, that's
okay,
a problem. That's exactly the problem here. Children of Earth was a big hit. How the hell are you going to top that? You need to top it. And it's... Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. It's going to be interesting to go through that. It's not as good, but we'll see.
Yeah. So the line, by the way, that Reese gives that really annoyed me is when Capaldi turns around and he asks for the FAS files. Yeah. And Reese is like, SAS? Oh, yeah, now we're talking. Like, what the fuck are you on about, Reese? They just said that there's no military action they can take. Now you think the fucking SAS are gonna come in and save the day? Where have you been?
Yeah, that is a bit of a weak line. There was a line from him earlier that I also didn't really like, where Jack is trying to explain, I never thought they'd come back, I thought this issue was sorted, and Reese is like, 44 years, decent breathing room. I feel like that line was a bit as well. I feel like these final few episodes have Reese kind of in the background a bit more. He's less interesting for sure, which is a shame.
Yeah. I mean, like, what's he gonna do though? He's just a guy, But everybody back at Torchwood is like, okay, we have got so much information on these guys, we could take down this entire government. They're so fucked. Let's go get them. But when they go to, go get them, traffic jam. Sorry.
Yep.
Can't go get them. Too much bad traffic in that London. A busy place. And meanwhile, we're also cutting to like various news broadcasts where everyone is like, UK hella sus, UK not trustworthy at all. I saw UK vent, and it would be really interesting. Like, I mean, obviously it would be terrifying, but I think it would be really interesting to live through a time where, like, our closest allies don't like us anymore. I think that's a really interesting idea of the US suddenly being like, UK, what the fuck are you doing? And because we're buddies forever and all time. And I obviously I'm not asking for our international allies to suddenly start treating us like bad guys, but I think it's an interesting concept. It's another little nugget that doesn't really get explored fully, where it's like, hang on, the US doesn't trust us anymore. Our closest ally in the world no longer trusts us.
It's a nugget that doesn't get explored, but you also don't feel like it's hindrance. You don't feel like it's distracting that they don't explore it.
No, there's bigger things. There's aliens.
They prioritize the right storylines in this season. I feel like it is, it's great. But yeah, Yanto and Jack hop into the car and they give Yanto's sister a good call and hey, keep kids safe. Which is I'm glad they fucking remember this, because I feel like any other show would forget about the sister character. Any other show would be like, oh yeah, shit, there was a sister, wasn't there?
Yaz's family. Remember, she had a sister at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
also a little bit of levity at the end of the phone call where Yanto's like, "Oh, I'm even warming to Johnny a little bit," which I like.
It's very sweet. Kind of sweet. It's very sweet. Yeah, it's very sweet. And I like Yanto's whole family as characters. I think they're very likable. I think Johnny's a very likable character as well. as grounded, a bit of comedic relief with a bit of heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's very nice. And there's also a nice scene with Reese as well, where Reese is like, "You don't think I'm good at helping out here, do you, Gwen?" And Gwen's like, "Yeah, that's 100. I mean, no, you're so useful. You're so useful, Reese. You're the biggest help. You're gonna save the day." Mwah. And he just kind of skulks away, and it's quite
and
funny.
he leaves the episode. He leaves the episode.
He does. He doesn't come back.
his
Yeah, he's like,
laptop.
okay. Yeah, and he says, "You don't think I can hack it? Is he gonna do some hacking on his laptop into MI6?"
God.
So the episode continues onwards with military lady whose name
Johnson.
is Johnson. Johnson coming out being like, "Wow, they're not at the location we thought they would be by tracking them. What a shocker." And then guy at the computer's like, "Well, but there's a base nearby that they could go to. You should go to the base nearby." And so they're like, "Fuck it, let's go to the base nearby," as if it wasn't...
Yeah, it's obvious this is an M. Night
Yeah.
Shyamalan trap. Except I guess it would be the opposite of an M. Night Shyamalan trap. It's inviting the serial killer to the place rather than inviting the... Oh, whatever. But yeah, it feels like
Yeah,
it's
it was a really good
obviously...
analogy.
it's obviously a trap because... Yanto fucking talks to the guy listening to the call. Of course, he knows that the call is being listened to. It's a trap, but it's not a deadly trap at least. So I guess there's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, while they go off to that direction, we go back to Capaldi in the cabinet, and they start discussing something that is really interesting to look at through a 2024 lens, which is how they're going to get away with killing all these kids and giving them off to the aliens. And their solution that Capaldi comes up with is there's going to be a jab. There's some sort of cure to the thing that's making all the kids chant, and then we're going to vaccinate them with nothing, and when they all disappear, we'll just blame the aliens, and that way, we're just nincompoops who can't do their job right, rather than people who actively went out their way to kill some kids. And that the whole idea of fake vaccines to hide a grander conspiracy is something that in 2009 is a really compelling idea, and in 2024 fills me with dread.
Yes, fucking Russell Davis predicted COVID. It's a pandemic the entire time. Of course,
And COVID, as we know, was created by outer space aliens.
Yeah.
That was the big fact about that. That was what we know about that. But yeah, obviously in real life, vaccines usually help.
Yep.
And aren't usually there to make your kid be taken by aliens. There's like maybe a 5% chance that the next vaccine you give your kid's gonna make them get taken by aliens. It's slim. It's not impossible. On a long enough timeline, eventually, when you vaccinate your kid, an alien's gonna grab him. But pure statistics.
What I fucking love about Peter Capaldi's performance here is you can fucking tell he hates having to say every single word. He just hates it. And he's only saying it because, obviously, he has to protect himself at the end of the day. He is complicit in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. There's a really good moment. I don't remember when it happens. It's one of the cabinet scenes when they're all deciding what to do with the kids, where it cuts to Capaldi, and you see him looking at every single member sitting around the table. And it's like, okay, make sure you make eye contact with everybody that's making these decisions, Yeah.
And... this is it's perfect to have the same director across all 5 episodes, where the director can track character arcs like this. This scene needs a snippet of Peter Capaldi reacting to what's going on in front of him because it informs his character, it informs his character arc, and Ross Lynn is a really great director. This season of television is really well directed. It's for British television in 2009, this is top tier. This is one of the best directed. Until EastEnders. This is probably one of the best directed series of television on UK television. You know what I mean?
From 2009 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really incredible.
We then continue on to we cut around a little bit with people running around, but Gwen tells Lois that now's the time. Now you've got to. Everyone's about to leave the meeting. You've got to stand up. This is the time for our plan to kick into action. And she hesitates for a bit, and slowly she raises her hand, and nobody looks at her, and so she raises it a bit more, and then she has to speak up. And the second she says any words, everyone's basically like, shut the fuck up. Why are you talking? And immediately dismissive of her. And this scene I thought was fucking fantastic. I thought the lady here, whose name I don't know, who plays Lois, I was like a character I didn't really care about. Suddenly I was like, fuck yeah, let's go. Where she's like, I'm a voter, and I've been recording all of this, and you and whose army? Torchwood. And then you get the little Torchwood music thing. It's like, fuck yeah, Torchwood's here to save the day.
It's fucking fantastic at this point of the episode to make it seem like, oh, Torchwood is gonna fucking fix everything, And then he realized, oh shit, this is Thursday. The series ends tomorrow. What the fuck goes wrong between now and tomorrow? I remember watching this as a kid, just thinking, this is we're obviously gonna wrap things up. Oh fuck, it's Thursday.
that idea of there's still an app. Like, I remember going through The Good Place with some friends a couple years ago. They had never seen it before, and we got onto the final season. And we got onto the second last episode. And basically everything was wrapped up in a neat little bow. I remember one of my friends being like, "Hey, there's still another episode left. What the fuck happens? What happened? Wait, what goes wrong? Hang on." And it was just perfect. That idea of like, I think everything's gonna be okay, but hang on. Actually, there's loads of time left. Things are still gonna go wrong.
God, that final episode of The Good Place is one of the best series finals I've ever seen in my life.
It's a really good show.
The entire episode is, it's a really good show. It's genius, honestly. That final episode, what a tearjerker as well. Just everyone walking through the door. I'm just going to say everyone walking through the door. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that's a non-spoiler way of talking about it.
Yeah, it's genuinely really, really good. It's an insane show, and like a lot of the time it feels like they're making it up as it goes along. But
it's a show that changes its premise about
every
6
season.
or 7 times.
Every sometimes multiple times a season it'll change what it's actually about. Like it's a lot of fun.
That's how you keep a show interesting. Just change your premise up.
Keeps you guessing.
Explore every single avenue you possibly can in 4 seasons and 52 episodes, I think there is, which is a perfect time for a series. No more.
Yeah, it's really
please don't announce a spin-off. I hope there's not a spin-off.
I don't know how you would spin off The Good Place.
Oh, just reboot it with different people, like we're doing with The Office. Did you hear there's an Australian Office coming out soon?
I mean, there is Russian versions of The Office. Yeah. There's Indian versions of The Office. The US version is a spin-off of the UK. True. Like the Office is just spin-offs of the show. That's what it is. And there's a sequel series to the US version coming. Yeah. It's a big fucking thing. But yeah, the Office gets rebooted all the time. But
I love every corporation being like, hey, fuck, we're out of ideas. Let's just go back to old ideas. Let's do a reboot of Friends, where everyone deals with the fact that Chandler is now dead. Let's do a reboot of Friends and make it really sad.
I can see them doing it. But yeah. The episode continues on with some fast-paced cutting back and forth here as the Torchwood place gets raided at the same time as Captain Jack and Yanto walk in to MI5 to be like, hey, we surrender, by the way, we're here with Torchwood, as the Johnson comes in and Gwen's like, hey, I was expecting you. Look, the Prime Minister's on telly. Let's watch what they're watching and see what's going on, by the way, because he's a bad dude. And basically ends up with Torchwood being able to come in to chat with the aliens.
Yeah.
Which is what they were building up to. This is part of their big plan. And this is where things kind of get a little bit messy. They get a little bit logically messy in terms of things that are happening on screen.
But yeah, this is something I just noticed on this watch through. So the entire time we're watching Gwen watch the computer, and it's a recording of the contact lenses in Lois's eyes, which can only read lips. And we're supposed to believe that somehow Lois has perfect vision to be able to watch the screen and capture Captain Jack's lip movements. That's a bit of a stretch.
The screen from 2009 is such a crisp HD that you can make out tiny details like mouth movements and
she's across the room as well. She's across an entire desk of an entire table of people. And she's able to see this, and everyone at Torchwood 1, Gwen and all that, are able to capture everything Jack is saying. We're also able to hear everything the alien is saying, because we're all reacting to what the alien is saying.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work, because the aliens don't have visible lips. So
It is a leap in logic for sure of how, but at the same time we need our characters to get this information.
Yes, of course.
And
but an ADR line of Captain Jack has an earpiece or like an invisible earpiece on him.
Jack's also got some contact lenses in.
But he still can't read the fucking lips of aliens with the eye contact lenses.
Yeah.
But he has some device recording audio, because the whole reason why the contact lenses is there in the first place is because it's the only thing that can't be tracked through security.
I got it. So Lois can hear, she can't see the TV very well, but she can hear it. They're playing it at a really loud volume. So she's just quickly writing down in shorthand everything everybody's saying. And that's how everyone's getting that information. I know we see the screens and everyone's watching it, but
and there's no point for Lois is writing anything down. But it feels like there should be an ADR line of, Jack brought along a recordable device. That's fine, but maybe we just didn't realize it's not something that makes the series bad.
Yeah, it's
again. I've seen this episode 7 or 8 times in my lifetime. First time noticing this, and this is just because we're kind of going over it and with a fine comb, you know what I mean?
yeah, we are nitpicking, as they say. And the scene that Captain Jack has with the aliens, I think it's a good scene. I think it's a terrible strategy. I don't understand their plan.
Walk into the room.
It's the most Torchwood plan ever. Of we'll just walk in and win. We're just gonna go in and go bang and win. Like, it's no big deal. Because they just go in and they're like, "Yo, aliens, the deal is off. We're gonna kick your ass." And the alien is like, "Okay, well, I'm just gonna kill everybody." And then it does it, and it just kills everybody. Like, what the fuck were they thinking? What was the goal? Like.
There is a great moment where Jack is trying to be philosophical, and because the implication is he's quoting the Doctor here. He's quoting a really old friend of his who's really old, and you just have to wonder who that could possibly be. Who's the oldest man? Who's the old man he's thinking of? But he's trying to be philosophical, and Yanto's like, yeah, we're gonna fucking shoot you. And Jack is like, I prefer the philosophical way. And Yanto's like, yeah, I know.
Which still, like, even the shooting them,
Yeah.
they know, or presume that they know about the box being there, thanks to, like, Lois and stuff. So they know it's made of, like, thick glass or bulletproof glass or whatever the fuck. So, you know, you've got Captain Jack, who's immortal. You know you can get in through the side. Just go in with it. Just get a knife. Just...
I mean, Jack walks through the door. He dies. A minute later, he gets back up. Yeah. He dies again.
But
he keeps dying.
But when he gets back up, you know, he just plunges the knife in. And then he dies, gets back up, plunging another knife. You know, aliens dealt with, problem solved, and then just slowly crawl out the room. You can die infinite times. We've seen this man blow up. Go in with a fucking bomb on your chest. Suicide bomb this shit, you know, because we know you're going to be okay at the end, Captain Jack. Just fucking jump in and bang.
Yeah, that's all decent ideas. But yeah, the whole getting up, stabbing him, dying, getting up, stab. It reminds me of Peter Capaldi and The Wall. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It might take a billion years, but maybe he does eventually get there.
But he will punch through that fucking wall. Amazing episode. That's an amazing episode of Doctor Who.
Hot take. Maybe Peter Capaldi is a good actor.
Believe it when I see it. Maybe if he wasn't such an old man, God, maybe he's gonna break a hip doing all that acting. So the aliens retaliate by releasing poisonous gas into the room, and also just deciding, fuck you, Clem. I also don't like you. And killing Clem, who dies like his brain melts or something. It seems pretty gnarly. The way that Clem goes out.
Pretty cool way to go out. You know, he spends.
That's how I want to go out. That's how I want
to. You want to go out by spending
my
most
brain
of your
melting.
Life absolutely traumatized. You're traumatized for like 44 years.
Halfway there, baby. Halfway there.
But yeah, the entire episode, we didn't mention this really, but the entire episode, Clem is acting like the alien must know he's listening to them. And the entire time the alien keeps mentioning remnant. Turns out Clem is the remnant, of course. There's still a psychic link between the alien and Clem. Clem dies. Although, I feel like there could have been a bit more to this arc. Like, maybe the alien is aware of what Torchwood is planning, because he's linked up to Clem. I feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity here.
Clem's like
he can control his
spy
actions
without even knowing. Yeah.
But missed opportunity, and I don't understand. I don't think you can fit that into this series, and it's not like the series is lacking because of it. So not a big deal.
Yeah. We see a bunch of people running for their lives to try and escape the building, but they don't make it out. We see a weird slimy guy that wanted to have sex with the box he made for the aliens, climb into a hazmat suit to survive the gas.
Yeah.
And then we get a really good scene with Yanto and Captain Jack, with Yanto dying in Captain Jack's arms. And, I mean, both of them are dying. Captain Jack is dying in this scene as well. But Yanto is not going to be coming back, and they both know it. And so they're just, like, Yanto's just kind of pouring his heart out as Jack is crying. And it's possibly the best performance I've seen John Barrowman ever give.
Yeah, I believe that's reasonable. I think, as we said before, he's not the strongest of actors, but I think this series has the right director, the right editor. You know, this series has the right everything, so it can enhance his performance. Because
I think he's fine. I think John Barrowman he's fine at acting. I think he plays a certain character very well, which is your Captain Jack sort of charismatic, funny, I'm the leader type. which doesn't often mean he has to do these big emotional scenes. And, you know, like we saw the scene earlier in the last episode compared with him and Capaldi, when it's like, I've got your daughter, and, you know, we saw the stark contrast between the performances there. And I think that's just because maybe he wasn't acting against anybody. You know, like maybe John Barrowman is like, he needs that other person so he can bounce off their energy and kind of feed from that. Whereas, you know, when he's on the telephone, he doesn't quite get that. And Capaldi's so good, he doesn't fucking need that, you know. But I think he's fine. It's
interesting you just mentioned Capaldi. Capaldi hasn't met anyone from Torchwood this entire series so far. It's fascinating how they haven't met, and that's not something you're like, oh, when is Peter Capaldi going to meet Captain Jack at long last? That's not something you ever think about. You're just like, I'm fucking fine with Peter Capaldi not meeting Captain Jack. It works, you know, it really works.
And you also already believe that they have a relationship, like they know each other. These are guys that have worked together, even though they've shared no screen time.
God, what? Yanto's line.
What would happen if Captain Jack ever met the 12th Doctor? You know,
this is one of the. Yeah, again, I'm just so glad just so glad Moffat didn't tie in Torchwood with a whole face, because I'll probably say the same thing in 2 weeks because something else happens. But I won't mention it.
Spoilers.
Yanto's line of 1,000 years time, you won't remember me, and Captain Jack like, yes, I will. I promise you, I will. Is one of the most devastating things. Like it's just, it's the whole scene is just. I was crying into my cornflakes this morning watching this scene because it just impacts me to this day. It's a really well done emotional scene. Can I give you a little bit of a history lesson here? Okay, I've got a little thing to say.
I guess.
So
I hate history though.
So in Cardiff, like a 4-minute walk from the actual Torchwood hub, there's a tourist attraction called Yanto's Shrine, and people from all over the world come pay their tributes to this character from Torchwood, which is kind of fucking incredible. You know, to be in a TV show for 30 episodes and to have this much of an impact that people from all over the world leave tributes to your character because they were just so emotionally devastated by your character's death in this show. That's kind of incredible.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. It's really I'm sad that the dude that plays Yanto isn't in more stuff.
He is in something right now because I was on Twitter the other day and I think he's in Casualty or something, and his character in Casualty mentions something about aliens, which of course is an inside joke about Torchwood, which I found quite funny. He's in stuff, but he's not in stuff we watch. He's not in any science fiction shows. Like, it's the same thing with Freema Angerman. She's not in anything I watch, so it's like she's disappeared, but she really hasn't. He's probably still a very consistent actor, you know.
Yeah, I just wish he was in things I cared about.
Yeah, he's a good actor, though. He's great in this show.
He is very good. He's very, very likable.
But the shrine was basically put up like a few days after this episode aired. It started as a spontaneous display where fans would leave flowers. Eventually people would leave poems, pictures, letters and gifts as tribute to the character. The shrine itself wound up appearing in Torchwood Season 4. And people who don't watch the show are very fucking confused by it. I saw a Reddit post like 5 months ago where somebody's like, is this for somebody who fucking drowned or something? I don't understand what the fuck is going on. What do you mean it's for a television show that got cancelled 12 years ago? What? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
What a bizarre little tribute thing.
Yeah, that is peculiar, but it's kind of fun.
But enter a woman named Carol Ann Hillman. She became a Torchwood fan in 2009. After her mother died, she moved in with her brother, and he convinced her to watch Children of Earth with him, and she absolutely fell in love with Yanto. And when I say that, I mean she is obsessed with his character to an insane degree. She became absolutely heartbroken when the character died. A week after this episode aired, she travelled 3 hours to leave a handwritten poem at the shrine. In 2014, she came back to the shrine for the first time since 2009, and she found it wasn't in the best shape, with sun-faded photos, tattered signs, and all that. So she basically declared herself as the official caretaker of the shrine, and she still is to this day, 10 years later.
TV
She
does
found
weird
it.
things to people, doesn't it?
It does, but it's kind of sweet in a way. She comes to this shrine every month or so, and she just updates it. She takes away all the old tattered signs and all that, and she updates it with new things. She found it to be hard work at first because storms were constantly flooding the shrine, and conservatives actually became angry about the shrine because the wall was very pro-gay rights. Of course, Yanto being gay is a big thing because you know Torchwood is like one of the most openly accepted gay people exist kind of shows at the time. It meant so much to so many people back then to just have gay people represented in a positive light. And fans even became angry with her for removing the tributes that were no longer legible. She even, to this day, she helps add tributes to the shrine from people who cannot visit as they live in countries like Mexico, Spain, and Australia. Some stuff from Italy as well, like all over the world. It's kind of insane.
That is wild.
She adds new decorations for holidays like Valentine's Day, Easter, Halloween, Christmas, and even Yanto's birthday itself. Intercardiff, a website called Intercardiff, did an article about her, and this is an excerpt from the article. 2 seconds. She's written over 200 fan fictions. Her first just 6 days after the character's death and spanning 150 pages. Every episode has been watched, every book audio tape bought. She knows what colour tie suits Yanto the best, blood red. What waistcoat suits him the worst, none. And can even recognise Yanto's actor, Gareth David Lloyd, by nothing more than the area between the middle of his nose and the top of his mouth.
If I am Gareth, I am staying the fuck away from that lady. There's being a fan, and then there's being a fan. It's gonna be like a Misery situation if he ever breaks his leg in Cardiff, you know. Like this is bordering on the extreme.
But the two people I actually met a few times. I think they have a decent relationship, but every time they meet, she's like, "Oh, can we get another photograph?" And Gareth is like, "You already have enough photographs of me. You don't need any more."
That would be such a tricky situation to navigate. I would find that's interesting lady.
But she's still the caretaker of the shrine to this day. She's currently 72 years old, and she hopes to keep the shrine intact for another 20 years. She's like, even if I have to,
90s.
Even if I'm on a mobility scooter, I'm gonna keep this shrine in tip-top condition.
That's insane.
Which is fair enough, because it is a tourist attraction now. You know, if you read reviews about the tourist attraction, it's got like 4 or 5 stars. You know, people really like going to this shrine and paying tribute to the character. Which, for the actor, imagine just signing up for this Doctor Who spin-off. You're not sure if the spin-off is ever going to go anywhere. And suddenly, people from all over the world just love your character so much that you become a tourist attraction. That's insane.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Though having essentially a stalker is less cool. But yeah, interesting character. What an interesting lady. I wonder what she's doing right this second.
Probably listening to us.
Listening
if
to
you're
this
listening
podcast.
to us, I appreciate you.
We're part of the Yanto. We're talking about him as a character, so he has to listen to us to complete the collection.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's an incomplete collection. But if you are listening, lady, I hope you're harmless. If anyone did that sort of stuff with me, I would be so freaked out. I'd be like, "What the fuck? what? Chill out for a second. Like, what the fuck are you doing?"
The article was kind of poorly written, but from what I gather, Gareth, there was a point where she's like, "Oh, I can't keep up with this. I don't want to keep maintaining the shrine." And Gareth kind of reached out to her and thanked her, and she's like, "Okay, now I have to keep doing this because Gareth appreciates the work," which I think is fine as long as you're not being overly creepy with them.
Yeah, and like if I was him, like make sure you keep your distance.
Yes.
Anyway, back to the episode. The politicians are basically like, hey, okay, so we've just got to surrender to the aliens. We've got to either fight our own people or fight the aliens. So we're kind of fucked here. And Gwen goes off to see some corpses. Which there's a really nice contrast here when she reveals them, because she opens up Captain Jack's body and it looks like, Captain Jack's lying there. He looks normal, whatever the fuck. She opens up Yanto's body. He's blue. Yeah, like he looks cold. He looks dead. And then Captain Jack, of course, wakes up again, and it just that subtle contrast in skin tone is just such a great little detail of like one character is okay, the other character is gone. Deal with it. And
also,
it's tragic.
Eve Miles in this scene is fucking incredible. Her hesitation to walk over to open up it's not a body bag, but it's like a sheet covering him. Her hesitation in this scene to pull away the sheet from Yanto is fucking heartbreaking. It feels real, and Eve Miles, fucking incredible for the entire series. And I must say, Yanto. Yanto is a character who mostly stayed in the background up until now. And, when you start focusing on a character who stayed in the background for the first two series, most of our shows would be like, okay, why are you telling me more about this guy's background? You haven't focused on him in a while. Why now? And you realize in most of our shows, oh shit, he's probably going to die. Whereas here, I don't think you quite see he's going to die. You know what I mean? Because everybody else has an elevated story arc from Captain Jack. You find out more about Captain Jack's past. With Gwen, I think you don't find out quite as much about her, because I think you mostly find out about her life in series 1 and 2. There's no more to really explore, but you still further her story arc here. But so everybody else has elevated story arc, so it's not quite as obvious that Yanto is going to die until you fucking look at the BBC iPlayer thumbnail for this episode where Captain Jack is holding. What's the thumbnail?
It's Captain Jack.
Captain Jack and Yanto in a profile shot, and Captain Jack looks very concerned about Yanto here.
Yes,
and
Yanto
you look at that
very
thumbnail.
scared.
You look at that thumbnail and you're like, "Oh shit, he's gonna die, isn't he?" Like, what the fuck? Who made this thumbnail? Ridiculous.
It's probably just auto grabbed, from whatever the fuck. But yeah, it's interesting. I can't really speak on if I saw it coming or if I didn't or if I was expecting it, because I knew Yanto died before starting this series, and obviously the thumbnail gave away when he died, so it wasn't much of a shock. I had plenty of time to prepare myself for the death of this character. But it is done very well, and the episode ends on the heartbreaking line of "There's nothing we can do," which is a bummer. What a bummer. bummer of an
genius
episode. 1 out of 10.
having 3 main characters. You know, season 1 and 2, 5 main characters. Now we're down to 3, and Torchwood is already suffering because of the loss of Owen and Tosh. And now we lose another one. And we lose another one in the penultimate episode. And you can't help but wonder, what the fuck could go wrong in the next episode? What the fuck could be worse than this? Because usually we keep all the worst things to the last episode. What the fuck could be worse than one of the main characters dying? And we'll find out in 2 weeks.
We will, because that has brought us to the end of Torchwood Children of Earth Day 4. Now, normally, I would be saying next week we will be looking at Day 5. However, if you were to open up your calendar, you will see that next week is the end of August. And the end of the month means it's time for the news. So next week will be a live stream where we are recounting the news of the week. I presume it'll probably be on a Friday around 8 p.m. or so. Where we will be live streaming about all the monthly news in the Doctor Who sphere. I don't know what it's been like. There's not been
Nothing.
Yeah, there's not been much. Oh, I mean, I guess the script reading for the War Between the Land and the Sea happened.
The script reading happened. A guy from Disney Plus says he's very happy about Doctor Who.
Whoa. We'll talk about this next week, Scott, when we get on the news. And after that, we will be concluding Children of Earth at the start of September. So be sure to subscribe to us here at YouTube at Who Watches Who to make sure you catch that episode when it comes out. You could also listen to it in audio form if that's how you like to consume your podcasts. We're everywhere in the audio sphere. Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, there's an RSS feed. There's a bunch of links. Plug us in. Use your podcast app of choice. You know how podcasts work. You can follow us on Facebook at Who Watches Who, at Twitter at Watches Doctor. You follow me on Twitter at Cloth223. And there's a bunch of other stuff. John Cena follows me on Twitter now. You could buy my book. Yeah, you could buy my book that Scott's currently showing the camera that I also have a copy of, called Can You Taste the Color Orange?
Wow, how the fuck did you get a copy?
Same one you have. Until then, we will see you live next week. Bye.